Hello everybody, welcome back to the Unemployed Movie Critic YouTube channel. I have a snow day today, which is rare.
Hey, thanks. We've seen a lot of people out here, like you said, running, sledding, just enjoying it. One thing, oops, that can happen.
So I didn't really get dressed up. I hope I don't look terrible on camera. But I thought I would take the opportunity to tell you about a movie that I bet you have never seen called Jumper. Jumper, starring Samuel L. Jackson with white hair and Hayden Christensen of Star Wars prequel fame. So first, a quick summary of the film Jumper. So first, it starts out with Hayden Christensen doing a voiceover on top of the Sphinx head in Egypt. He basically does like one of those classic intros like, yeah, I bet you're wondering how I got here. And he goes through his whole life story. So as a teen, he gets bullied in school and he likes this girl. And this girl that he's kind of friends with, she wants to travel the world. And he finds this like snow globe with the Eiffel Tower and he gives it to her. And this bully throws it into a lake. Frozen lake, because they live in Michigan. They live in Ann Arbor, by the way, which is kind of cool because I've been there before because I live in Michigan. So he throws it into a frozen lake, and Hayden Christensen's character, whose name is David, he goes onto the lake and they're like, don't go into the lake, the ice could break. And the ice does break and he falls into the water and everybody thinks that he dies because he doesn't come up from the surface. Little do they know, he can jump locations. And so while he's under the water, he all of a sudden appears in the Ann Arbor Public Library, soaking wet, like water's all around him, but he has the snow globe back, which is cool. And he's like, huh, what? And he walks home. Dad really sucks. His dad is a terrible person and his mom left him, and so it's just him and his dad. And his dad, I don't know, maybe he's like into substance abuse. It's not really clear. He just is like a classic, like terrible early 2000s dad. And this movie also has like some classic early 2000s rock and roll, which I think is really funny too. And so he's like, you know what, screw this. I just learned that I can jump around places, so I'm leaving and I'm never coming back. And so he goes to New York. So basically the way his jumping abilities work is he can only go to places that he has been before and seen before. And so he goes into this bank and he asks to go to the bathroom and he walks past the vault and then he jumps in there and steals a bunch of money. And that's kind of how his life has unfolded. And so now we flash forward like 8 years and he's an adult. When he leaves home, he's like 15, by the way, and he's staying like in a hotel all by himself, which would be illegal, but somehow that's allowed to happen. So now he's an adult. He's probably only like 23, and he is really rich. He's got a ritzy apartment in New York City. It's beautiful. We see he's jumping all over the place, just, you know, having a great time in his apartment. He's super rich, doesn't even have to work or anything. Now we introduce Samuel L. Jackson's character. Okay, so during the first bank robbery he did when he was a young boy, Samuel L. Jackson's character is there with white, crisp white, snow white hair, unnaturally white hair that nobody would ever have, and black facial hair, which seems impossible. So he's there. And he's basically like a vampire hunter for these jumper people, we soon find out, because he's scoping up the bank. And then there's another scene where he's in like some jungle and he catches one of the jumpers and he's killing him. And the jumper asks him, why are you doing this to me? And he says, because you're unnatural and only God has that ability. He would call them jumpers with the hard R, if you catch my drift. Samuel Jackson shows up at David's apartment and was like, we're catching on to you, buddy. And he tries to kidnap him and he like shoots this electricity thing at him. And so Hayden Christensen just decides to jump back to his house in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And his dad is there. And then, anyways, that's not really that important. Then this is where the story really kicks off. Then he goes into this bar in Ann Arbor. And I feel like it probably is a real bar in Ann Arbor, because in the background of a bunch of scenes in this bar, you can see the like University of Michigan logo. So like someone's wearing a U of M shirt. U of M is in Ann Arbor, University of Michigan, and there's a bunch of this like, you know, like mugs and pictures, and the U of M game is on in this bar. So I think it was probably shot at a real bar in Ann Arbor, which is pretty cool, I thought. Then he runs into the same girl that he used to have a crush on in high school. Her name is Millie. Millie's working at the bar there. And another important note is that throughout this whole time, 8 years, everyone thought he was dead. Nobody thought he survived that lake accident where he fell into the river and never came up. So everyone in town that he grew up with thinks that he's dead. And also, he's been in love with Millie the whole time, basically. So they were Samuel L. Jackson and his crew were going through his apartment, and they found a picture of her from when she was a teenager, like 15. So I'm not sure how he got that photograph, and she's 15 in that picture and he was 23. But so he's still obsessed with her. He gets to chatting with her, and then her old boyfriend, the one that was his bully in high school, he's there and he's drunk and they get into a fight. Okay, so he jumps the boyfriend, the mean boyfriend. They're tussling, and he transport him to like a bank or something. Comes back to the bar and he's like, "Hey, how about we go to Rome together, me and you, Millie?" And she says yes. Which is crazy because everybody thought he was dead and he was gone for 8 years and she doesn't really know him. But she says, yes, you can take me to Rome. So they buy tickets to Rome. There they are, having a good time, looking at the Colosseum and whatnot. And he does some jumping shenanigans so that he can get into the Colosseum and has fun. And they also, like, the first night that they're in Rome, they have sex, which, like, again, she doesn't know him. He could be an extremely untrustworthy person, most suspicious person that there is, and she says, okay, sure, which is crazy to me. So Samuel Jackson figures out he's in Rome because he bought the plane tickets with his name on it. So they're like, he's like, yeah, a plane ticket for Millie and David just happened. So we know that they're in Rome from from the Detroit Metro Airport, which I've been on before because I live in Michigan. I've been to the Detroit Metro Airport. Oh my God. Then this crew shows up and they start fighting with David. Also, out of nowhere, this little, I think he's Scottish. If he's actually Irish, I'm gonna feel bad, but I'm pretty sure he's Scottish. This little Scottishman shows up. I should have mentioned also the Scottishman was in the bar in Ann Arbor, just watching from a distance disapprovingly, like that. And so now he's there and he's like, hey, David, I'm also a jumper and these people are trying to hunt you and they're probably going to try to kill your girlfriend. So you really got to be careful. You got to stop being irresponsible, blah, 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 blah. And the police have been surrounding him and he's just, he gets interrogated by the police in Rome, and he somehow is able to weasel his way out of it because of the help of a mysterious, beautiful woman. Actually, it's his mom. Isn't that crazy? So David's mom is in Rome, and she gets him out of this bind and is just like, leave Rome. So they do. So he's like, all right, Millie, I'm out of the interrogation. Let's just go home. And she's like, why? What's going on? What's happening here? Why have you been detained? He's like, oh, it's just a mistake, but we have to go home right now. And so then he abandons her in the Detroit Metro Airport. Actually, no, sorry. He abandons her in the airport in Rome to get back to Detroit, and he won't tell her why. And she is just like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go home then. He teams up with the little Scottishman. This whole vampire hunting for jumpers scenario, this team of people that hunt jumpers and hate them and want to kill them, led by Samuel L. Jackson with white hair. So this whole thing goes on. The Scottishman has a little like cave in the desert. He has like a lair, an evil secret lair, and he's been hunting them back. So he's been trying to kind of capture and kill these hunters. And in one scene, Hayden Christensen is at his little lair, and there's just a dead guy on his floor, and he's playing video games in his lair. And I think very fittingly in his lair, he has a bunch of really detailed drawings of Samuel Jackson in a variety of styles. He's kind of an artist with it. And he also has, you can see like very big like packages, like boxes of Mountain Dew in the background. Funny. He has a little gamer den. You know, they go on this crazy heist. They're being hunted the whole time. Blah, 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 blah. I think there was one fun. It was really funny. This one scene, David was trying to kind of connect with the Scottishman in Japan and Tokyo, which I've also been there. Oh my God, I've also been there too. And the Scottishman steals a car from this Toyota dealership because he jumps inside and then jumps the car out. And they're driving around and he's like, yeah, basically my mom left when I was 5 years old and she didn't say why and I've never seen her and my dad sucks and he's not a good guy. And he's like, hey, I didn't ask for your life story. I don't care. Fast forward. The guy who, the bully from before that Hayden Christensen jumped into the bank, is caught on like camera, and they're like, so why are you here? And he's like, I was jumped in here, which I know sounds crazy, but this guy that I used to know, he showed up and he jumped me here. And Samuel Jackson is now interrogating him because he knows that he's a jumper. And so that's kind of how he gets caught. Hayden Christensen gets caught, and the movie kind of ends with the ending is like all over the place. It's like, I didn't mind it. I didn't think it was like a distraction or anything, but now looking back, it was very like, like a lot of location changes. The crew is going to steal or something, bother Millie. They're going to Millie's apartment. Hayden Christensen finds out where she lives and breaks into her house. Like, he climbs on the balcony of her apartment and comes in there, and she was like, hey, what are you doing here? You're being really creepy. You left me at the airport in Rome and I haven't heard from you since, and you're probably involved in some criminal activity, and now you're here. And he's like, sorry, I just wanted to make sure you were safe. Which, you know, is one of those things where movies in the early 2000s have this really strange dynamic between male heroes and the women that they protect, and that's kind of just like a common trope. And every time looking back, I think in the lens of 20 years later, 15 years later, it's really strange. We've kind of come to understand that that's like really not a safe person to be around. Like, if somebody ever treats you that way, the way that these classic heroes, protective to a fault, the way that they act is never safe or good or normal. But for some reason in the early 2000s, they were all about that. I don't know what that's about. So he leaves. Samuel Jackson and his crew, they break in, they try to take her, but Hayden Christensen knows that he's gonna be there, jumps back, steals her, takes her to the cave, the creepy cave. But whenever he jumps, it leaves behind like this little, like, kind of like a little tear in the atmosphere, and you can't see it. So Samuel Jackson's crew, they're very trained professionals, so I think they use like a spray to find out where the rip is, and they reopen the rip, and so they find a secret lair. Obviously the Scottishman is quite upset that his lair has been discovered, and so they get into a whole big kerfuffle again. They steal Millie back. The Scottish guy, he's trying to help out. He really is. He like steals a big truck. No, he steals a big bus from London, like a double decker, and he tries to like run them over and stuff. Samuel Jackson still lives. He takes Millie back to the apartment. He jumps her back, and then he like ties her up and like holds her captive against a wall, and she's like passed out, which seems unnecessary. She didn't really have anything to do with like what was happening, so I don't know what Samuel Jackson is mad at her for. I guess he just wants to be mean to David and kill her. He jumps back into her apartment, blah 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 blah. He saves her. The Scottish guy is like, hey man, don't go back for her because it's not worth it, they're gonna get you. So he's not really friends with the Scottish guy anymore, and he leaves them abandoned in like a telephone wire, like, you know what I'm saying, like one of those big towers that connects to the telephone wires. He leaves them abandoned there, and he goes to save Millie. They jump back into the Ann Arbor Public Library, and eventually Hayden Christensen conquers all, and the movie is done. But then, right when we think it's over, it's not. So at the very end of the movie, David is walking through a snowy environment. It's cold. I'm guessing it's in Michigan again. because of the snow. She walks over to this beautiful fancy house, knocks on the door, and guess who answers? Kristen Stewart. Kristen Stewart answers, and she's like, Mom, somebody's here for you. And David's mom comes downstairs. So I guess he has a sister. His sister is Kristen Stewart. So his mom comes downstairs. Hayden Christensen's like, why did you abandon me when I was 5 years old? And she basically, it's revealed, worked for the Samuel L. Jackson group of people that hunt the jumpers. And she was like, you jumped for the first time when you were 5 years old. I was freaking out because I knew they were going to try to hunt you, so I had to abandon you, which I feel like is not really true. I feel like she's pretty much a terrible mom to leave her son with a man who she knows is abusive. I'm guessing she could have tried to train him on how to be a responsible jumper, explained that people are always out there to hunt him, and so if he just doesn't really jump or is very cautious about it, nobody will ever know. That would have been a way more interesting story. I think it would have been really cool to see him work with his mom. His mom has to hide this secret, protect her son. I think that's a way more compelling story than he just, starts robbing banks and she just abandons him and doesn't ever think to come back to find him, which is insane. He's like, okay, well, that's kind of messed up that you abandoned me. She was like, listen, you have to leave because I'm going to give you a head start. Just go and never come back. And so he does. So he goes back outside. Millie's out there. They're dating now. After everything that she's gone through, all of the lies, deceit, and the fear for her life, she still decides to date him. And so they're in love now. And she says, where should we go? And he says, I don't know. Where do you want to go? And she says, I don't know. Surprise me. And of course, they jump off somewhere in some classic early 2000s rock and roll plays, baby. So that's a brief summary of the movie. So one of my favorite things, seeing Samuel L. Jackson in terrible hair. Samuel Jackson is bald, right? Am I wrong? He's bald. Unless this was before he was bald. So they either powdered his hair, put white hairspray in his hair, or they gave him a terrible pure white wig, which is crazy. So that was very funny to see. Samuel Jackson is just racist against the jumpers. There is kind of no motivation for his group. They're called the Paladins. And there is no real motivation for why they do what they do. I wish they would have shown scientific experiment that they're using for the jumpers to try to figure out how they do it. Why do they hate them so much? Or it would have been interesting because Samuel Jackson mentions God a couple times. I think it would have been interesting if they actually had some strange religious belief where they thought the jumpers were evil, of the devil, or just unnatural or against God, and so that's why they were trying to kind of cleanse them from the earth. I think that would have been a really interesting perspective, but that never happens, so it's kind of strange. Love the Scottish/Irish guy. I think he's Scottish. Loved him. Loved his attitude. Usually I don't like a classic I'm a lone wolf and nobody understands me kind of guy, but the way that he does it is really fun and interesting and funny. And I know that I've seen him before. I just can't remember the name of the actor who who portrays him, but I know I've seen him before, and he was just quite the laugh riot. I really liked him. I think that kind of messed up his character because in the end he ends up kind of betraying David and telling David it's not worth trying to save Millie and he should just try to fight for himself and save himself. Also, why was this little Scottish man at a bar in Ann Arbor? I thought that was such a goofy detail. Is he a big U of M football fan? What would he possibly be doing in Ann Arbor, Michigan? How does he know about Ann Arbor, Michigan? But I wish he and David would have had just a stronger connection. I wish they would have become good friends. I think that would have been really beneficial to the plot of the movie. I think that would have been fun. And yeah, he was just a riot. He wears a little leather jacket the whole time and his hair is kind of spiked up and he's got that oh yeah, I don't care kind of attitude. He's the classic little emo gamer kind of guy. I think a huge disservice to this movie is Millie not being played by Natalie Portman, because as a teen, when they're teens, the girl who plays young Millie looks just like Natalie Portman. I almost thought it was her. She looks a lot like Natalie Portman. And then when she becomes an adult, she's just this random other woman. Then Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman, right? They were together in the Star Wars prequels. So how funny would it have been if Natalie Portman also played the adult Millie? That would have been perfect. Having Samuel Jackson in the movie just as a whole was shocking to me. Whenever I see him in a movie that I did not expect him to be in, it's like kind of makes me laugh. So Christian and I, we also watched this movie, Room 730 something or 4 something something. Is a movie. It takes place in a hotel, and it's like 100 hotel room, and this author goes there, and Samuel Jackson is the manager. And I said, Samuel Jackson, and that's exactly what I said when he first showed up in this movie. I said, Samuel L. Jackson, what are you doing here? So I always just think it's kind of funny. Like, it kind of seems like he picks kind of just like fun projects, which I would also do if I was an actor and I was already established. Like if everybody knew I was already a good actor and I've been in some good stuff and I've been nominated, then I would just decide to do funny little side projects. If somebody came to give me a script and they're like, do this, we'll give you $100,000, I say, okay, sure, I don't care. Like, Samuel Jackson would have been in the Star Wars prequels too, so look at that, another connection. All in all, it was a fun movie. I like the adventure of it. It feels like an early 2000s movie, and I think that's very comforting. Like, I think it's comforting and it's fun to watch movies from the time period that you grew up in as a kid. Even if you had never seen the movie before, even if it has like no connection to you, it still feels nostalgic. And I think it really just represents, like, it's just so crazy how you can watch a movie from a time period and you feel it exactly. Not even just in like the way people are clothed, the way things look, the way the camera looks, but just in the way that people speak, the way that characters interact with each other. You just immediately know, which I think is really funny. And so it just kind of shows you, like, this is the dynamic that of characters that I grew up in, and then you can really see the change from early 2000s, this kind of hero, this kind of person that he saves, and then things kind of change in the 2010s, and then now here we are in the 2020s, and movies are quite different from that whole spectrum. And it was fun to go around the world because they were able to travel everywhere. They were in a jungle, they were in Egypt, they were in Rome, they were in London, they were in Tokyo, they were in Ann Arbor, they were then in the Detroit Metro Airport. They were all over the place, and I think that's fun. I think it's just something about like seeing landmarks in movies is just like kind of cool. I think maybe I'm a dork, but I just think it's fun to imagine that, like, when the actors got to go there and they got to hang out and do fun things together. So honestly, this is not a very critical analysis of the movie. I just liked it. I thought it was fun. I think you should go watch it too if you are able to do so. It's very nostalgic, and I would rate the movie, I think on Letterboxd I gave it like a 3 out of 5, or maybe a 3.5 out of 5. The way that I rate movies is purely just based on the way that it makes me feel afterwards. Did it make me feel annoyed that I had watched it, or did I feel kind of good about it? Or if it made me cry and sob and gave me an emotional response, then it's getting a high rating. Then it's getting a 4.5 or perhaps a 5. But if I just liked it and I said, that was kind of a funny thing, then it probably gets a 3. And if it was terrible and sucked and got on my nerves and made me mad, then it probably gets like a 1 or 2. So I gave it a 3.5. Not that it's the most critically acclaimed, prestigious, advanced, I don't know, deepest meaning movie, but I just thought it was fun, and I think you should watch it too. I think having fun movies has a place in criticism as much as Oscar movies do. So thank you for joining me. Have you ever seen Jumper? I've never heard of this movie until we watched it the other day. Guys, you'll be so proud of me. I already watched, oh, I forgot to cross off the third one, but I already watched 3 movies this year. Look at that. So I'm making pretty good progress. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for joining me. Goodbye.